Okay, welcome back, macroeconomics students. To this very short video, I just really want to clarify what output gaps are, because in the previous video, I referred to output gaps without really explaining what they are. So, in an economy, in the long run and the short run, okay, there could be differences in the production and our GDP, okay. Output gaps, there are two types. There are positive and negative output gaps. Okay, positive output gaps are when economy is producing above sustainable levels, sustainable capacities in the short run. Okay, so what I see right here. Okay, what is this right here? This is the classical interpretation of macroeconomics equilibrium. Yeah, as you can see, this is the long run. This is the short run. Short run real GDP, okay, short run real GDP is less than long run real GDP, which means there is a negative output gap, also known as the recessionary gap or a deflationary gap. Okay, so negative output gaps are also known as deflationary gaps or recessionary gaps. Okay, so these are also negative output gaps, regardless of what they call them. Right here, what we see is short-run aggregate supply at the intersection with aggregate demand has higher real GDP than the long-term aggregate supply. Remember, long-term aggregate supply is YFE. Okay? Y, okay, real GDP at the rate of full employment. FE stands for full employment. However, right now, okay, short-run aggregate supply exceeds our LRAS, which means in the short run, real GDP is greater than sustainable levels, which signifies a positive output gap. Now, positive output gaps shows that in the long run, market will correct itself. At least this is the classical interpretation of macroeconomics, that in the long run, markets will correct themselves and everything will go back to normal. Everything will go back to LRAS, both in positive and negative outputs. Now, however, for the Keynesian interpretation, negative outputs cannot exist. Okay, negative output gaps cannot exist. Only positive output gaps can exist. And what does a positive output gap look like? It looks like this. Okay, when the short run, okay, when the aggregate demand is intersected at the horizontal place, okay, that's the Keynesian interpretation. However, when a test asks you to illustrate using graphic form output gaps, either positive output gaps or negative output gaps, which is also synonymous with deflationary gaps or recessionary gaps, I strongly recommend you, okay, I really strongly recommend you to use the classical interpretation and not the Keynesian interpretation. So this is just a very short video. I really want to clarify what output gaps are because it is a terminology I used before and I did not really clarify it. So I hope this video is helpful in clarifying what output gaps are, and I hope to see you guys in the next video where we'll be talking about our next major unit, which is unemployment. So it's going to be an interesting unit. I hope this video is helpful. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.